Hi guys, this is a level 1 workout for when you feel like your lower back or SIJ might be feeling a little stiff or a little sore. If you've got any really acute pain, I don't recommend that you do this workout and that you seek some advice from your chosen healthcare professional. But if it's just a little bit of niggly pain, something that's a bit ongoing, or something that just feels a bit stiff and sore at the end of the day, then this one should be perfect to get you feeling a bit more freed up. So we're going to start laying down on our backs and place your hands onto your pelvis. So have your feet firmly into the floor and you're just going to rock the pelvis forward and back. So I know we start with pelvic rocks a lot and we do a lot of bridging as well, and we're going to be doing that in this workout too. But it is just so good for the pelvis, for the pelvic range, for pelvic stability, for switching on the transverse abdominals and activating the glutes, and all of that really helps the lower back. So we're just rocking the tailbone down into the floor and then peeling it off slightly as we rock back towards the belly button. If you feel discomfort in one certain direction, just go lightly in that direction. Don't feel like you have to do your full range. If it's a little bit sore, just do what range you can manage pain-free. But if you can do the full range, then really work through all the way forwards and all the way back, pressing that lower back into the floor and then peeling it off as you rock the other way. So we're just going to do 3 more like this, rocking forward and back, and 1 more after this one. Lovely. And then bring your pelvis back to neutral. So you should have a really small gap under your lower back, about the size to fit a blueberry. So we're not pressing the spine all the way into the floor, but just leaving that tiny little gap. So this is our neutral spine and neutral pelvis position. Place your hands onto your hips and dig your fingers in just on the insides of your hip bones there. And then we're going to engage our transverse abdominals, so you should feel those muscles firm in under your fingers. And then we're going to lift one leg up into tabletop. And then we're going to place it back down. So this is dead bugs. So we're going to lift the leg up and place it down. So we're inhaling up and then exhaling down. This is a really simple exercise, but it's really important to do it right. And what it does is it engages our transverse abdominals and works on our pelvic stability. And that's really important when you want to take away any tension and overworking out of your lower back. So it is a simple exercise, but it's also a really important one for your back. So you should feel, if you've got your hands on your hips there and your fingers digging in slightly, you should feel those transverse abdominals muscles switching on underneath your fingers. And then you're inhaling up and down. And the idea is that the hips stay really still, that they're not moving at all through the pelvis, and just the leg is moving on its own. So if you're still working with your pelvic stability or your back's a bit sore, you can stay with that one. Otherwise, we're going to do 8 where we lift both legs up, one at a time. So we're lifting up, up, and then down, down. Let's lead with the left first. Up, down, down. And you'll feel that this really kicks into the transverse abdominals a lot more strongly now. You can feel your abdominals kind of working. And then we're going to lead with the right leg for the last 4. So leading up, up, down, down. Really engaging through the transverse abdominals, drawing your belly button in towards your spine. Still keeping your pelvis really stable. We've got 1 more. And then down. Then we're going to go into a piriformis stretch. So you're going to cross your right leg over your left, thread your arms through under your left leg, and then draw that up towards your chest. At the same time, draw your tailbone down into the floor. And that's going to really enhance the stretch there. So we don't want the bottom peeling up off the floor. Instead, actually the opposite. Plant your bottom down towards the floor, but keep that tension on the leg drawing towards you. And you should feel it stretching into your bottom. The piriformis is a little muscle in your bottom, and when that gets a little bit too tight, it can wreak havoc with your lower back and your glutes. So it's a really important stretch to do when you've got any niggly back pain or SIJ stuff going on. It's a really nice stretch. So we're just going to breathe 1 more time. And relax and release. And then we're going to cross the leg over and do the other side. So left over right, hands coming in under the right leg. Draw that towards your chest and then draw your bottom down. And you should be able to really feel the difference there when you draw your bottom down towards the mat versus letting it roll up. This is such a beautiful stretch to release tension out of the lower back and the glutes. And just breathe one more time. And then we're going to release that leg and plant both feet back down onto the floor. Bring your heels just a little bit closer towards your bottom because we're going to be bridging, and have your hands by your side. So we're going to tuck the tailbone under, pressing the lower back into the floor, engaging transverse abdominals. Then squeeze your glutes and roll up vertebrae by vertebrae into your bridge. We're going to inhale at the top and then exhale, and we're melting down through the chest and rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae back down to our start position. So we inhale at the bottom, exhale, tuck the bottom under, roll through the spine, up one vertebrae at a time. You should have one nice long line from your knees down to your chest, and then rolling back down on the exhale. So with this one, you need to really concentrate on squeezing your bottom. If your bottom is not working, your hamstrings and your lower back are going to do all the work, and that's certainly not what we want. So you really need to focus on squeezing your glutes. And you can see from this position if your hips are level or if you've dipped on one side, and that's going to tell you if one glute's working more than the other. So try and keep your hips level as you roll up and down. So we're going to inhale at the top and then really focus on bringing your spine down that one vertebrae at a time, noticing if you have any sticky spots and just trying to work through those nice and slowly. Hopefully you can feel your glutes activating by now, and you can feel them starting to get a little warmth. This is great for strengthening the glutes. And we need strong glutes to support our back. So a lot of people talk about having a weak core and therefore having a bad back. And what we see a lot in the studio is that people actually have weak glutes, and that's a really poor support system for the lower back. So we're going to do 2 more bridges, rolling up, inhaling at the top, and then just melting the chest down, vertebrae by vertebrae, back down to the floor, ensuring that your knees aren't opening as you bridge up. For the last one, inhaling at the top and then exhaling back down. So we're going to do another stretch. Let's lengthen the left leg and cross the right leg over the top. Bring your left hand to touch your right knee and just gently guide that towards the floor, while keeping your right shoulder as close to the floor as possible. It's going to lift a little bit probably, and that's okay. And you don't have to have this knee touching the floor. For me, that's enough of a stretch just to get into that position there. And you should feel just a gentle stretch and rotation through your spine, particularly your mid to lower spine there. And we're just going to hold this for a couple more breaths. So trying to keep your both shoulders directed towards the ground if possible. And there's a gentle activation through your core as well, just to protect the spine as we're rotating through. And breathe, one more breath. And coming back through the center. So we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So just square yourself up again. Straighten the right leg. Let the left leg come across. Reach your right hand to your left knee. The other arm can come out a little bit from the body, and you're looking towards that hand. And again, it doesn't matter how low your knee goes towards the ground. Everyone's going to be a little different. It's just where you feel your stretch, where you feel you're getting the most out of it, and where you feel the most comfortable. Don't go to the point of pain. I hate the saying no pain, no gain. Challenge definitely, but pain is not necessary. especially when we're talking about injuries or the lower back. We can do so much without going into pain. And we're going to hold for another couple of breaths. Remember that gentle little bit of core activation to protect the spine. And breathe. And then we're going to come back to center. And we're going to go into a little bit of chest lift. So we're going to activate through the core a little bit, because we do need a strong core to protect our spine, and we want that to flick into protection mode as well when we're moving around. So pop the hands under the head, fingers interlocked. Have your spine in neutral again, so that tiny little gap under the lower back. And we're going to exhale, and you're going to tuck your chin towards your chest and then curl up one vertebrae at a time, keeping your pelvis in neutral. Don't let your pelvis rock towards you. You shouldn't feel your lower back pressing into the mat. So it's going to stay neutral. And because of that, we can only come up about this far. And then we're going to inhale as we come back down. So we exhale, chin to chest, curling up, and then inhaling back down. So it's an exhale as we come up, and we're curling up and looking through to the pelvis, making sure that it's staying in neutral, and then inhaling back down. So this one's not about the height, but more about keeping the pelvis in neutral and using our abdominals to draw our upper body, just our sort of ribs upwards. So exhale and curling up, and then inhale back down. And you can imagine that you've sort of got it about the size of a peach under your chin, and that's what you're trying to hold there to your chest, just to ensure that we get the right position of the neck. The back of the neck should be nice and long as we're curling up. Shouldn't be any pain in the neck. It's being supported by the hands as well. And then inhaling down. We're going to do 4 more like this. So exhaling up. And then inhaling down. 3 to go. Exhaling up. Hopefully you can feel your abdominals working and your transverse working. Your pelvis is nice and still. Exhaling up. And inhaling down. We've got 1 more to go. Exhaling up. And then inhaling down. So we're going to hug the knees in towards our chest, and we're going to roll up into sitting. So we're just going to push with the feet, pull our hands into our thighs, tuck our chin in, and rolling up nice and slow. And then we're going to go into all fours. So hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. And we're going to go into a bit of cat-cow. This is really beautiful to stretch out the whole spine, not just the lower back. It's important that we get the whole spine moving, even though the lower back is the part that can be most commonly sore. It's important that we get the whole spine moving, and I explain a little bit more of that in our tutorial. So we inhale as we stick the bottom out, the shoulders draw down, and we're opening through the chest, looking towards the top of the mat. And then we exhale as we tuck the bottom under and look through our legs. Inhale, opening through the chest, drawing the shoulders down, bottom reaches out. And then exhale as we tuck the bottom under, looking through, reaching our spine up to the ceiling there. Inhale and exhale. Inhale. Can help if you imagine sort of if you had a tail, tucking it between your legs as you lift the spine up. And then inhale, sticking your bottom right out, stretching through the spine. We're going to do this 2 more times. This feels so beautiful on the spine. It's so nice to be able to stretch through the spine and get some flexibility through there. Last one, opening through the chest. Okay, and then we're going to come down into our tummies, and we're going to do a little bit of thoracic extension. So what that means is just a bit of extension or opening sort of through about bra line upwards, so just the upper part of the back. We're going to have our hands by our chest and our feet just firmly into the ground. Press your pubic bone into the floor. That's going to help lengthen out the lower back, and it'll help switch your glutes on just lightly. So we've got our hands beside our chest and we're looking straight down at the mat. And then we're going to start to look forward and we're going to lift up one vertebrae at a time. So the head, the neck, the chest, the sternum. Pressing into the hands lightly as you just start to lift the ribs off and then rolling back down. So you should feel this in between the shoulders and in the upper part of the spine. Remember to keep your pubic bone pressing into the floor, and that's going to help lengthen out the lower back so that we don't just lift up into the lower back and then rolling back down. So it's quite limited to how far you can come up, and that's okay. Sometimes these small movements can be really strong and effective when we do them right. And the aim here is that we're getting strength and flexibility actually into the upper spine, because we really need that part of the spine to be movable, healthy, and strong so that the lower back doesn't have to carry the whole load. So we're going to inhale up 4 more times. Pressing into the hands lightly, the shoulders are drawing down and back, and you can do that by pushing the elbows towards your hips. And 3 to go. Keeping your pubic bone pressing towards the floor, the glutes, gently drawing in the tummy, gently drawing in, and rolling back down. 2 more. And inhaling up. This is a really beautiful exercise to help correct posture as well. Rounded shoulders. And last one. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. And we're going to push ourselves back into a child pose stretch after that one. So if you have the legs just about as wide as your mat, sink your bottom back towards your heels and then reach the hands forward. Having the forehead just resting down onto the mat. This is such a beautiful resting pose, but it's also a really nice stretch for the quads, the hips, the lower back, and the armpits. So we just breathe here, breathing into the sides and backs of the ribs. If you can think about sending your breath more into that area while you rest here, it's really nice. And it stretches through the intercostals, so into your ribs. We're going to come back up now into our quadruped position. And we're going to just do a little bit of glute work. So it's, like I said before, it's really important that we have strong glutes to support the back. With this one, we're going to extend through the left leg. We're going to squeeze the glute, and then we're going to lift the leg up just as high as the glute and then back down again. So you don't need to go too high. This one's more about control and really focusing on squeezing your bottom. What we don't want to see is the lower back dipping and the leg going higher. So try and keep your torso really still. Push up into your shoulders strongly so that you're not sinking towards the floor. And we're going to do 3 more. Squeezing your bottom, go, go, go. And then we're going to swap legs. So extend the right leg now, squeeze the bottom, keep the hips square, and lifting that leg just until you feel the glute engage, and then we're popping it back down. So again, trying to keep the torso still. Keep your tummy engaged, strong through the shoulders, with the shoulders drawing slightly down towards your hips. We've got 3 to go. Lovely, and then bringing that leg underneath. We're going to do a couple more stretches now, and these ones are really important. So we've got our hip flexors, or our psoas muscle, at the front. So we're going to take our left foot forward, and then we're going to lean into that until we get about 90 degrees there. And then you're going to, if you need more out of the stretch, just tuck your bottom under slightly, as if you were pulling your pubic bone up towards your belly button and tucking your bottom under. That should give you a really nice stretch through that right side of the front of the hip. And that's where our hip flexor lives. And if you do a lot of sitting, driving, or you sit for work, this could get really tight, and that can cause a lot of problems for the lower back. So it's a really important stretch that we stretch that one out, and you can do that every day. So a really nice one to do on your lunch break, or just if you find you've been doing a lot of driving or sitting at home. And then we're going to do the other side as well. Actually, first we'll do the hamstrings. So if your knee is okay there kneeling, you might need a cushion or something under it if it gets a little sore. Straighten this front leg. So you'd send your bottom back and straighten through the front leg here. Takes a little bit of balance. You can pop your hands down if you need to, but if you can, try and keep your bottom pointing outwards and your chest slightly forward so that my back here is still in neutral. So you should be feeling a really nice stretch through the hamstring there. So we're just going to breathe through this one. Again, if the hamstrings get really tight, they can actually pull the pelvis under a little. And again, yeah, that's no good for our lower back. So pay attention to which of these stretches to you might feel the tightest, and that might give you a bit of an idea of what's happening with your back, whether it's your hamstrings, whether it's your hip flexors, whether your glutes were really weak. And that might give you a bit of an idea of what you need to be doing every day. So we're going to swap legs, pop the right one up in front, leaning forward just until that leg gets to about 90, and then tucking the tailbone under if you need a little more from that. You should feel that beautiful opening through the left-hand side, through the front of the left hip, and just breathe. Really important that you don't hold your breath through these stretches, and just try and feel like your upper body is nice and relaxed as well. You can squeeze the glutes a little bit if you feel like you need a bit of support in this position too. And then we're going to stretch the hamstrings. So lengthening this leg, sticking the bottom out ever so slightly, and leaning forward. Oh, this side is tight. And you might notice that you've got one side tighter than the other, and that's okay. If you wanted to spend a little more time on one side than the other, that's totally fine. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. So just breathing, balancing. If you need to hold on to something, go for it. This one's a little tricky on the balance as well. Just feeling that beautiful stretch underneath that can help release the lower back. And good. Okay. I'm going to come back down onto the bottom. We're going to do a little bit of rotation for the spine. It's something that it's a really important movement to be able to do with your spine without incurring injury. So I'm going to sit right on top of the sit bones. If you need to sort of pull your bottom out of the way a little bit, that's fine. So sitting up really tall. If that's uncomfortable for you, you can just have the knees slightly bent and out to the side. That might be a good indicator that your hip flexors are a little tight. So sitting up nice and tall, hands come to the shoulders. Brace with your tummy, so draw your transverse abdominals in, and we're going to exhale and we're going to twist to the side. And then we're going to inhale, keeping that beautiful length through the spine, and then exhale to the other side. So essentially, you're going to pretend like your feet are against a wall and they're really firm and they're not going to move. So we're not moving through the lower half of the body. We're just moving through the top half. And I want you to feel your obliques, feel your rib wrapping to the opposite hip, like you're wringing out a sponge, the top half of your body. And you're just squeezing out all that water as you twist to the side, and then you inhale through the center, and then feel like you're lengthening the spine even more as you twist. So this is our rotation. We're using our obliques to get that movement, protect our spine, getting some beautiful movement through the spine and the rib cage. Exhaling as we twist, and then see if you can just twist that little bit further on these last few. So just really squeeze your abs and abdominals and make sure your shoulders are nice and relaxed. Inhale through the center, exhale to the other side. And go one more to each side. Exhaling as we twist. Inhale through the center. And then exhale to twist. Lovely. Okay, coming back. We're nearly finished. So crossing the legs in front, we're going to do a little bit of mermaid. This can feel quite nice after that spine twist too. So we're going to take the arms out to the side. If you can't cross your legs, just have the legs in front. That's totally fine. Take the right hand down to the floor. The left one comes up and over. Make sure you keep your left sit bone grounded. Try and keep both sit bones grounded actually as you're going side to side. It's probably easier to remember. It's going to want to lift off, but if you keep it grounded, you're going to feel a really beautiful stretch through the side of your body. So we're getting into our side muscles and lats and QL and some muscles that can become a little bit tight and a little bit uncomfortable when we're experiencing lower back issues. So we inhale through the center and then exhale, and it's just a light bit of pressure on that hand. I'm not putting my whole body weight onto it. I'm letting the body stretch out through the side too. And over we go. Pretend that your back is up against a wall and that your spine is nice and long, and that you can just go straight to the side as if you had that little bit of pressure with the back of the wall to lean against, so that you can't lean forward, you can't lean back, can't twist, just straight to the side. Inhaling as you lengthen through the center and then exhaling over to the side. Try and make sure your shoulders are nice and relaxed and loose, that they don't start to lift up towards your ears. And we're going to do one more to each side. So inhale through the center. Exhale as we come over. Last one to the other side. It's feeling so good. Inhale through the center. And then exhale to the other side. Lovely. Okay, coming back, we're going to uncross our legs, come onto our toes, and we're just going to do 2 roll downs to finish. So we're going to start to plant the heels down, look through to your legs and start to stretch the legs up. You can keep a little bend in the knees if you need it. Squeeze your glutes gently as you start to come up, lengthening through the legs, uncurling the spine vertebrae by vertebrae, and the head is the last thing to come up. So we inhale, feel the body lengthen. Exhale, tuck the chin towards the chest and start to roll down slowly. Soften the knees wherever you need to. Keep the head nice and heavy, looking through your legs. And then rolling back up. Gentle squeeze of the bottom. Lengthening through the legs. Shoulders are heavy, and then the head rolls up last.